So, welcome to day 4. This is your squat and move day. Now, what I'd like to do over the next few blocks of training is introduce you to some different techniques. Today, what I'm going to get you to do is spend a little bit of time working with a foam roller. Now, there's lots of arguments for and against foam rolling. If you're on Instagram or any of the social media outlets, you'll find there's a number of people that are very pro foam rolling and a number of people that are very anti foam rolling. And the jury's out as far as how effective these things are. But what I can tell you is, unlike stretching, which has a negative effect on your performance in terms of strength and power, foam rolling, which has a very similar effect in terms of stretching, it loosens off muscles, it breaks down adhesions, it has no deleterious effect on performance. So this is one of those things, if you're going to spend some time before you train, doing your movement prep, this is one of those things that I'd encourage you to try and do. So 3 movements. The first one's going to be a foam rolling movement, and then we're going to move into 2 other movement preps to get you into that squat position, open up your hips and get you hitting depth with hips like Shakira. Right, so piece number 1, grab your foam roller, and we're going to spend a little bit of time taking you through how to foam roll effectively. And again, there's lots of misconceptions about how this is best done. Now, what you'll probably find in the gym is you'll see lots of people doing this kind of stuff. Now, that works to an extent, but what you're doing there, if you think about your quadricep muscles, the fibre direction of your quadriceps runs from top to bottom. So by rolling straight up and down, you're simply going along the fibre direction. Now, what would be more preferable would be to roll up and down to find the tight spots, and then either pancake, which is rolling side to side, to break down any adhesions, which might be caused from previous injuries, scar tissue, that sort of stuff, or contract and relax, which we've covered in previous week's blocks, or use some movement. So you do what's called a compression tack. So if we take the outer quads, for example, I'm going to take you through a few different regions. So rolling onto the foam roller, we're on the outside of our quad. Now I'm going to roll up and down to find those hot spots. Now what I can either do here on this first hot spot is I can roll from side to side, that's pancaking, or I can get tight, compress, get my quad as tight as I can, tense, 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 and then relax. So that's our contract and relax. Or I can find that tight spot and I can compression tack. And again, you can add that other leg on top of that leg if you want to add more resistance, or you can simply work through there. So you're going to work from the top of the outer quads all the way down to just above the kneecap, and that's the first piece you're going to foam roll. We're then going to move on to the adductors. Now, adductor magnus, which is the big muscle which sits under here, the thing that rubs together, that creates all that friction between your legs. So you have to wear long cycling shorts, otherwise you get chafing. This is one of the big muscles you're going to use as far as your squat is concerned. And this is one of the big muscles that gets injured at the bottom of the squat, particularly if you've got a fairly wide base squat. So side of the leg, and again we're going to do the same thing. We're going to roll up and down to find the hot spots. Once we find a hot spot, we can either get tight, so tense, hold for 5 seconds, that's our contract and relax. We can pancake across. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to go from internal to external rotation, so I'm rolling my femur like that. Or we can simply put some pressure down and then do our compression tack. So that's your next area you're going to work on. Final piece, we're now going to work into the calf. So again, same rules apply. Starting at the bottom of the calf muscle, roll around until you find a bit that feels a bit gnarly, a bit hot. Remember that your calf occupies the entire expanse of the back of your leg. So don't just roll down one side, make sure you're hunting out your corners. You can either get tight, so tense, do you contract and relax, and then relax into it. That should ease the tension off. You can compress and tack, so move your foot around, make small circles until that eases off. Or you can simply roll from side to side, which is our pancake. So lateral quads, adductors, calves, I would spend about 2 minutes working through each leg and then move on to your next piece. So this was the piece, one of the pieces that we did in the first 4 weeks block. So this was our squat and hold. And the idea of this is that we're simply trying to open up the hips. Now the weight up front, which you might now find you can get rid of, is there to counterbalance the weight. And what you spend time doing this time is actually moving from side to side. Now what we're aiming to do here is try and create more dorsiflexion in the ankle. So if you can see that, as I'm shifting over to that side, I'm actually creating a bigger angle of dorsiflexion. And then I shift over to the other side. So what I'm simply trying to do here is really open up my ankles, open up my hips. And again, I'm going to spend about 60 seconds in this position, and that's piece number 2. So your final piece on your squat and move day is a movement that's going to encourage and activate the muscles that create hip extension. Now these are obviously really important when you get to the lockout position of your squat and the lockout position of your presses. So taking a lacrosse ball, I'm going to put the lacrosse ball into the hip flexors on my right leg. So that's pinned into there. And then with my left leg, I'm going to do a single leg bridge. Now I'm simply moving up and down, trying to create as much external rotation and extension through those hips as I can, whilst keeping the ball pinned into the front of my hip using those hip flexors. So it's almost like we're working posterior chain on the leg that's on the floor, and we're firing up the anterior chain, the hip flexors and the rec fem muscle, which forms part of the quadricep muscle, on the leg that's into the air with the ball pinned into the front of the hip. Now 6 to 8 reps, left side, swap over, 6 to 8 reps right side, and that is piece number 3.